On a raft of blown-up rafts, which used to be available for hire in the area, I had made my way out beyond the waves. This being the first time I'd ever been in the ocean, so I had no idea what was going on. In the end, I made my way out to the edge of the ocean and turned around to face the beach. The waves were coming in and setting in, and I wasn't far enough out to see one strike me from behind. As a result, it threw me off the raft and pushed me into the ocean's depth for approximately 15 feet until I hit the bottom face first, and I would have died immediately if I hadn't struck the sand at the bottom. You open your eyes as a result of my inability to provide you with direction on which way is up. As a result, all you can see is a whirlpool of spinning shapes. When Sam and I were snagged, I had no way of getting back up. Until a wave landed on top of me, I didn't realize I was being swept away by the breaking wave. As a result, I was completely unaware of its impending arrival. When I finally made it to the surface, I was slammed by a second wave as soon as I emerged from the water's depths, and it simply kept repeating itself in the same fashion. So I was at a loss. Many of them were consumed by me. When the final wave struck, I recognized that I would not be able to return to the surface, so I gazed up and down the beach and replayed my life in a loop. At that time, I climbed down and swiftly departed. My lungs were suffering from not being able to breathe, yet I had no recollection of swallowing any water. Instead, I imagined myself floating away from the planet as if I were already there. I, on the other hand, focused on the ground. I was able to see it all well from a distance and only a few hundred miles away. My body had deserted me, and I was paying attention to the local surroundings. As a result, I wasn't really in outer space. I felt I was on my way out of this world. That's how it went. In that regard, what struck me as particularly remarkable, and I haven't heard this from anybody else, was that I was prepared to leave this planet for the last time. I could have sold you every second of my existence on the planet. It's as if you were suddenly tapped in and had a library card at a heavenly library at the time, and I could have informed you about every person's existence on the planet. And I was still on Earth, staring at the beach, when I had that life flashing in front of me for the last time. The only reason I wouldn't call it a life review is because the word review implies a level of judgment. In other words, there wasn't any. Fast-forwarding through my whole life, movie was like seeing it through a VHS player at full speed and only picking up on what I missed the first time around. When I finally made it to the bottom, I was overcome with a sense of calm and love that I had never experienced before. Because of the tremendous feeling of love, I felt no fear or apprehension, and since I don't have a body, I lack all of my senses, except for my sixth sense. I've been essentially robbed of everything I ever held dear, and I don't miss it at all. It was a tranquil, kind, and caring environment. To me, it seemed like I could just ignore the fact that I didn't have a body. It's wonderful to know that I'm cherished. There's nothing to worry about. As a result, I did not manifest physically. Also, I didn't attempt to imagine any other than the earth as a backdrop for my imagination. I'll admit, I gave it one more glance. In my mind's eye, there was something that I could only imagine. Anything else would be impossible for me to depict. The tunnel was new to me. That's something I've heard of. That's when I realized there was a tunnel there for me. A psychological one instead of me. There are times when it's simple to imagine that there is a darkness all around, and at a distance, since you don't feel real near to it at the moment, you just know that it's there, and there's a pinpoint of light at a distance. That, as you quote, unquote, grows closer to it. Due to the fact that you are not moving, it will seem larger, giving the impression that you are traveling through a tunnel. So it was a mental tunnel for me, and I can understand how it might be described as such by someone else if they'd imagined themselves to be physically there. It raises the issue of who you are in love with. It says it one more time since it's clear that love is so strong. Hope isn't truly necessary. I never encountered an angel who wasn't present. Then, I won't deny that I didn't run into anybody. I was overjoyed to experience such warmth. To be enveloped by an inconceivably large number of creatures who were all identical to you was a joyful experience, and I stepped into the light. Your love is the glue that binds you to each other, and you're all part of one another. I'm a part of them, and they're a part of me, and it was a joy to experience. There was a sense of serenity and contentment about being there. Because this place is so nice, it seemed like I'd do away with the formalities and we'd all simply hang out here together. You already know who I am, so I won't even bother to introduce myself. I didn't have anything to add. It's the sum total of all the souls. One of the most impressive aspects of all this is that our ability to recall and process information in a huge scale is one of the most impressive aspects of this. That blew my mind. We have a lot of people. Most of us believe that Angel has a great capacity to process vast amounts of data, and we believe that Angel is capable of doing so. You don't know what you're missing until you meet your greatest self. In addition, there are a slew of individuals present. It's amazing how big they are. There's no hierarchy, and no one was in authority in that place at the moment. Even if you think that everyone there is living multidimensional lives on several worlds, there is no room for any type of judgment or bias. What I'm most interested in right now is the fact that I've come across this and other indies that say the same thing. So I'm not the only one that feels this way. In their words, they stated that they were staring back at the planet that they had left behind. In other words, that's the fantasy world, they're saying. People who have never had a near-death experience and are so enthralled by this topic will be happy to hear this. And you have my deepest sympathies, my dear. And I'm pleased to be able to share with you some of what I have learned and offer you some food for thought. Take a look at this one because you're going to enjoy it. Consider this one. Neither of us is here. We're at the source. There's no one here. This is only a dream. That we are generating an experience is the only thing we can be sure about. We're quite skilled at this, and we make the experience appear genuine. You choose to return. I know it might seem different the minute you leave here. You look at it as a dream. It may take on whatever appearance you like. Because the next thing that occurs to me out of there was that I suddenly felt someone grasp my arm. You're building an experience. I generated the feeling that I was sent back or taken back in. Then I realized that I hadn't made a mistake here, and it seemed as though someone was grabbing my arm. That is because I was thrown back here and dumped in front of the breaking waves. Finally, my first swim of the day. Where did I get the energy to do this? However, I was able to gather enough strength at the moment to continue swimming. I didn't even get out of my chair when I arrived at the beach. I swam on and on. When I wake up, I'm already crawling in the sand. I'm doing the pull-up on the beach after laying there for at least 15 to 20 minutes trying to get the energy to do anything at all. I was seized by someone. It may have been a ghost or a spirit, or perhaps an imagined one. Then again, I don't know whether I was alone while I swam, but I was at a position where there was no other swimmers within 100 feet of me. Nobody would have had time to come to me and take me out of this situation. It was also important to me that if someone pushed me towards the coast and I'd done that for them, I would have followed them there and made sure they reached the shore as well. Moreover, no one ever arrived as scheduled. Because I've come to recognize that I'm the one who generated this, it's all a fabrication of my own making, and it's not genuine. If I looked at it that way and strolled around here, I'd probably end myself in a rubber room. How did you manage to achieve this? The only way to have a meaningful life is to continually tell yourself and comprehend and live your life as if nothing is real. In this style of life, I strive to live my life and perceive the world like a majority of people do, taking in information from two distinct perspectives and switching between them when it makes sense.